Alright guys, welcome back to the Fantasy Breakdown. Today we are coming at you with the Week 6 waiver wire. A lot of unfortunate injuries last week, and some players that are going to be questionable. Big injury, I think, was Omarion Hampton getting landed on IR with an ankle injury. We don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be back this week, and also Tua is questionable as well. Now with Omarion Hampton being out, certainly I did not add the two Chargers running backs behind him to the list this week, only because we don't know who is going to be the top guy in that backfield, or if it is going to be something like a committee. But we do have 7 players here today that I think you guys should be looking at picking up. And first off would be Sam Darnold. He had a breakout fantasy game last week against the Bucs, which I thought was crazy. So far, in the last 4 weeks, he's averaged 19.1 fantasy points. And I think we could see another dominant performance from him this week against the Jags, thus putting him over the edge into a low-end fantasy quarterback 1. So far on the season, Darnold has been averaging 16.3 fantasy points a game. He has 81.6 fantasy points, 1,246 yards, 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Next on our list, we have Mac Jones. And Brock Purdy could still need some more time to recover from his injury. And if that does happen and Purdy misses this week, Mac Jones is the go-to guy. He looked really good this week, last week against the Rams, putting him over the edge and getting that victory. We could see some production this week against the Bucs. The Bucs are a really good team with a pretty solid defense. And so far in the season, Mac Jones has been averaging 19.1 fantasy points a game. He has 15.2 fantasy points, 905 yards, 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. It seems like the transition out there to the Shanahan offense might be showing him that fantasy production that a lot of people are hoping that he would have had when he first came into the league. Back with the Pats, when the Pats drafted him, maybe he got mismanaged out there. There's no telling what. But he's been looking really solid so far this season. Let's go ahead and check out our next player, who is going to be Michael Carter. Now, I didn't touch on Michael Carter last week because I really thought Amari DeMarcado was going to be the running back out there in Arizona, but it turns out I was wrong. And it's looking like that Michael Carter is the clear running back 1 in Arizona, while Trey Benson and James Conner are both on IR. Last week, Michael Carter handled about 72% of the carries, and he carried the ball 18 times. He scored a touchdown and caught 5 passes last week against the Titans. So far on the season, it's only been 2 games, it seems, but he's averaging 19.2 fantasy points a game with 18.4 fantasy points, 52 yards rushing, and 1 touchdown. And I think we could see that production or better this week when they go up against the sorry, I'm just trying to fact check myself here. Looks like we could see some of the production when they go up against the Colts, but it is looking kind of unlikely with the Colts having a pretty good defense so far this season. Next on our list, we have Rico Dowdle. I have him on here because, we don't know if Chuba Hubbard is going to be back this week. And last week he had 206 rushing yards against the Dolphins. Definitely someone I would be looking at because, if your player can run basically two lengths of football, two lengths of football fields, and then some against the defense, like, yes, it is the Dolphins, but still, I would probably be looking at picking him up. And he does have a chance to stay hot against his former team in the Dallas Cowboys this week, which is something that I would not be surprised at if it happens. So far on the season, Dowdle has 10.7 fantasy points a game, 53.7 fantasy points, 289 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Next on our list, we have Kendrick Bourne. Definitely someone that I have been having on my fantasy radar, and he should definitely be on yours if Pearsall and Jennings are both out again in week 6, and I think it might be possible that it does happen again. And he is former teammates of Mac Jones, so there is that sort of connection there, and he does seem to be Jones's favorite target. Last week against the Rams, he had 10 catches for 142 yards. Someone I would probably pick up, and just in case Pearsall and Jennings are both out. And on the season so far, he is averaging 10.2 fantasy points a game. He has 40.9 fantasy points, 229 yards, and 0 touchdowns. But I think we could see him getting a touchdown this week against the 49ers. Maybe after, but definitely someone I would look at having. Next on our list, we have Mason Taylor. Now, I know right now things are rough for the Jets, but it seems that Taylor is getting more and more looks from Justin Fields and the quarterbacks, and any quarterback that they have come in just in case Fields does get injured. In the last 2 weeks, Mason Taylor is averaging 14.6 fantasy points a game, and he has had 11 points in the last 2 outings, it seems. And looking at it, I don't think it is 2 weeks, but that could be what it is. If he stays on pace right now, I could see him becoming an every week fantasy starter. And he is someone that I do have a lot in my dynasty leagues. I liked him coming out of LSU, and I think he could have get more looks and get a better fantasy production. But so far on the season, he is averaging 7.9 fantasy points a game. He has 39.5 fantasy points so far on the year, and he is going for 175 yards, no touchdowns. Definitely wouldn't be surprised if those numbers go up and we start seeing touchdowns out of him. And the last player on our list this week that I have is Theo Johnson. He seems to be the go-to red zone guy out there for the Giants, with Malik Neighbors being out for the season. So far on the season, he does have 9 red zone targets, tying him for the third most in the league. And in Jackson Dart's first 2 starts of the season, he has shown that he does trust Theo Johnson with the ball. And he looks like he might be the first or second option on passing plays when he is out there running routes. So far on the season, he has 8.6 fantasy points a game, 42.9 fantasy points total, 100 99 yards and 3 total touchdowns. I wouldn't be too shocked if we start seeing more touchdowns out of him. It might be a little rough this week against Philly, but Theo Johnson is someone that I would probably pick up off waivers and stash if you were in desperate need of a tight end this week, or later on down the line if for whatever reason another tight end gets injured. And that is going to be all here today. You guys have a great rest of your week, and this advice maybe helps you get that win in fantasy or pushes you over to the edge closer to getting a win. Catch you next time. Later.